It was the best of time, it was the worst of time. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We had everything before us, we had nothing before us. We were going all straight to heaven, we were going all straight the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authority insisted on being received for good or for evil in the superlative degree of comparison only. There was a king with a large jaw and a queen with a plain face on the throne of England. There were a king with a large jaw and a queen with a fair face on the throne of France. In both countries, it was clearer than crystal to the lords of the state preserves of loaves and fishes that things in general were settled forever. So the passage I just read is from the first chapter period from the novel A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. The contradistinction you just saw in the passage is very Dickensian, and he does that a lot across the chapters and across the books he wrote. And this book paints a bloody, violent story of French Revolution with the use of fiction and character. And the theme of of the book is sacrifice, love, resurrection, immigration, and and um, and corrupted aristocratic elites. I mean, how corrupted uh, the the kings and queens and the whole monarchy could be. And in general, the book carries this lot of rich language and rich entities. For example, Charles Dickens uses contradiction everywhere throughout the book, and he does that a lot. He's very honest with the approach when he's telling the story of two cities, and two cities, by two cities he refers to Paris and London, and he's very honest in giving the description of both, that how was those cities back then. England was no heaven in itself, right? It was, people were getting robbed every single day. There were robbers. Uh, there was theft constantly. You couldn't leave your home, and it was instructed not to leave your home without having take care of your furniture and the things in it. So security and protection wasn't thing back there and back then. So I think that's what um, Dickens does. And the theme of this book is, as I've just said, is love, and the pivot of the story is this French family who moves to England, and the daughter of that family falls in love with this other nobleman, and there's also one other Englishman who then they form this love triangle, who says and that I will do anything for you, to the to this uh, to this lady who is a French lady, and at first it looks very, something any lover would say to a girl, or to his lover, but he actually sacrificed himself in the end. So it's about that. The story in itself, the story in itself, it's something, and then there is the historical context. Above all is the beautiness of the is the beautiful language, right? Is how beautiful the beauty of the language. Um, and Charles Dickens, the reference he draws from the French Revolution, he keeps get mentioning the date and the year, at least in the beginning, is that the 1775, when the French Revolution really began. And he mentioned that after the birth anniversary of uh, our Lord, after 1,775 years. So that's the reference he keeps drawing. France, less favored on the whole. This passage is also from the chapter 1. France, less favored on the whole as to the matters spiritual than her sister of the seal and trident, rolled with the exceeding smoothness downhill, making paper money and spending it. Under the guidance of her Christian pastors, she entertained herself beside with such humane achievement as sentencing a youth to have his hands cut off, his tongue torn off with the pincers, and his body burned alive because he had kneeled. He has not kneeled down in the rain to do the honor to the dirty procession of the monks which passed within his view, as at a distance of some 50 or 60 yards it is likely enough that rooted in the woods of France and Norway there were growing trees when that sufferer was put to death, already marked by the woodman, fate to come down and be sawn into boards, to make certain movable framework with a sack and a knife in it, terrible in history. It is likely enough that in the rough outhouses of some tailors of heavy dance adjacent to Paris there were sheltered from the weather that very day, rude carts bespattered with rustic mire, snuffed about by pegs, and roosted in the poultry from which the farmer that had already made set apart to the tumbrils of the revolution. In England, there was scarcely an amount of order and protection to justify much national boasting. Daring burglaries by armed men and highway robberies took place in the capital itself every night. Families were publicly cautioned not to go out of town without removing their furniture to warehouses for security. The highman in the dark city was a city tradesman in the light, and being recognized and challenged by his fellow tradesmen, with whom he stopped in his character of the captain, gallantly shot him through the head and rode away. The mail was waylaid by 7 robbers, and the guard shot 3 dead, and then got shot himself by other 4 in consequence of the failure of his ammunition. After which the mail was robbed in peace. The magnificent potentate Potentate, the Lord Mayor of the London, was made to stand and deliver the Turnham Green by one highway who bespoiled the illustrious creature in the sight of all retinue. The prisoners in London gaols fought battles with their donkeys, and the majesty of the law fired blunderbushes buses in among them, and loaded with round of shot and ball. Thieves snipped off diamond and crosses from the necks of the noble lords at the court drawing room. Musketeers went into St. Giles to search for contraband goods, and mob fired on the musketeers, and the musketeers fired on the mob.